Welcome to Mystic Musings with Toby Hewitt. I'm Toby Hewitt, and I'm your guide through time and space and all points in between. Mystic Musings will give you insight into who you are, why you are here, how to live an authentic life, and where you fit into the universe around you. Join me on this path of mystical exploration. Welcome to episode 78 of Mystic Musings with Toby Hewitt. This week, we will continue to consider pathwork as we continue our mystic journey. I am examining my shift in my pathwork to increased and more focused writing, and also as a facilitator of Pathways to Mindfulness presentations, which was created to bring mindfulness into the community. For example, this week I realized if I do not wake up at 5 a.m. and start writing after making coffee and feeding the cats, I miss the opportunity to allow the writing to flow easily. I'm not awake enough to edit and question what I am writing. I trust in the process and, beyond hoping for the best, trust the writing is serving spirit in one sense or another. Actually, when it is really flowing, I don't pay much attention, though sometimes I experience surprise at what I see appear on the page. This is a function of trusting my intuition and letting go of the death grip control we sometimes try to exert over our actions and reactions in an attempt to have control over every minute of our lives. Sometimes, I have found, it is better to give in to trust and see what happens. I felt compelled this week to order Pathways to Mindfulness business cards, return labels, and stationery. I also created a list of places I want to approach to see if they are interested in hosting the presentations. I intuit that within the next month, much progress will be made toward promoting and booking Pathways to Mindfulness, and I look forward to moving along my pathwork on this focus. Another shift this week has been a desire to get healthier in preparation for the greater demands on my energies. The reason I am mentioning all of these details of my pathwork is to portray for you the sorts of things that change when your path changes and you dedicate your trust to following your intuition. It is exciting, that feeling of knowing that you are on the path you created for this lifetime. But on the other hand, creating and maintaining physical health is important to this process. I know right now I am edging toward eating more healthfully and putting together an exercise plan that I will stick with. Nothing in this process happens overnight. It is a process. Of course, now that I have written that, I can hear my intuitive mind screaming that there were several weeks of increasing discomfort with how I was living and what I was doing before I accepted the need to change my pathwork. When we first begin to tune into our intuitive minds, and therefore into the universe, we will know we are making a real connection by becoming aware of the messages the universe is sending us. These come in various forms and can be perceived in myriad ways. One of my favorite moments of confirmation is when I experience a sync moment, when a word or phrase I am saying or reading is said by someone on the radio or TV. These have been occurring with greater frequency since I shifted on my path, and often the words are those of support. At one point, it seemed that the individual words began to impart a message over time. For those who have missed my explanation of what I do with these sync moments, let me explain that when these occur, I write them in the notes section of my phone, indicating the time and date, along with the word or phrase that synced. This record over time, even when it is just a word with no apparent further meaning, gives me a sign from the universe that I am on the right path. I find that the universe gives myriad signs that it exists and does so intelligently, and sometimes obviously, and is able to communicate with those parts of itself that reside on Earth, as well as, I suppose, on all other planets, in all other galaxies, in all other universes. As I have said, it is complicated and I suppose simple at the same time. It is simple to recognize, but complicated to communicate who and what we are in the greater scheme of things. It has to be experienced because this is not dogma. It is, rather, based in faith and trust. Now, having been basically taken far from my original intent for this episode, because really giving up total control based in ego mind is part of Pathwork, I would like to briefly mention a sign the universe provides us, namely the spiral. This past week, one of my writing practice essays dealt with the vortexes on the property on which I live. These vortexes are energies that spiral from the earth upward, providing healing, self-awareness, and cosmic knowledge. People often meditate or do yoga on these sites. I have a favorite here, located between two black walnut trees whose branches seem to embrace the energy. I enjoy the feeling of peace and love that fills me as I stand between the trees on the vortex site. But spirals are everywhere. The Fibonacci sequence is a mathematical series of numbers that, when drawn, create a spiral. It was discovered by Leonardo Pisano Bigolo in the Middle Ages, although the sequence was used in ancient India. The interesting thing about this sequence is that it appears so often in nature, from fiddlehead ferns to the nautilus shell to pine cones to Romanesque broccoli to galaxies and many other examples. This spiral exists everywhere, and I believe it is a sign from the universe of the common path we all follow. I believe the spiral is a basic form of the cosmos, which echoes the actual structure of the path we follow, as well as the larger path. While this is not obvious, this form allows us to experience all time and space in one place and moment. Yes, this is complicated. I'm quite sure there are other writers and scientists and metaphysicians who can explain this phenomenon much better than I can. But the important aspect is that the spiral repeats in myriad ways and serves to remind us of that greater universal spirit of which we are a part and through which we created and follow our current path. It occurs to me that Dorothy's path in The Wizard of Oz begins in the center of a widening spiral path. Okay, now that is interesting, as her path to return home is really one of self-exploration and self-awareness. I invite you to spend a few minutes this week to further investigating the Fibonacci sequence and its manifestations on this plane, and perhaps other planes, and of course vortexes. And please don't forget to record in your journal the signs you receive from your intuitive mind and, further, the universe, and how you have acted and reacted based on this information. Please join me next week for episode 79 of Mystic Musings with Toby Hewitt, when Spirit and I will share aspects of Pathwork as we continue our mystic journey. Thanks for listening to this episode of Mystic Musings. Please join me every week to continue our exploration of all things mystical that can help you have a more practical and magical life. Please visit my website, tobiehewitt.com, for more information and to read my blog postings. And join me also at pathwaystomindfulness.org to learn how you can schedule a presentation. I'm available for mindfulness training, demonstrations of psychic abilities, and individual readings. I also have a number of books on mystical topics on Amazon.com. I look forward to hearing from you and answering your questions. Please contact me through tobiehewitt.com.